Hello and welcome to our thought for the day today. It's lovely that you are with us this morning. We're now a couple of months into the war in Ukraine, and I wonder if you, like me, are wondering where this will all lead. The pictures of horror and destruction are all over the news, and there's no resolution of this in sight. Many people have prayed and are still praying for Ukraine. Does this make any difference? Prayers for big issues like that sometimes feel to me like trying to push a lorry with a trailer out of a ditch by yourself. It can feel like nothing changes anyway. It's just your very small prayer against the massive size of a problem. I was 14 when the Berlin Wall came down. It was a very exciting time, but also a very nervous time. Everyone was very aware that the whole situation could end up in bloodshed if the Russian leadership would decide to stop the process of liberation and interfere with military force. And I remember praying really hard at the time that things would remain peaceful. And they did. But did my prayer make any difference? Did all the prayers of everyone together make a difference? Or would things have turned out the same way anyway? These questions are impossible to answer, but I have recently come across a story in the Bible that has encouraged me to think big when it comes to praying for big issues. This story is about somebody called Abraham. And you can find it in the first book of the Bible, in Genesis, in chapter 18. And in that story, God has a conversation with Abraham about a worrying situation to do with two cities in the area where Abraham lives. God says that he needs to have a proper look and investigate exactly what's going on there. He's heard that the people there are acting really badly, they're doing horrible things, and he needs to find out what exactly goes on. So he sends out two aides, two angels, to have a closer look for him, whilst Abraham stays around with God and starts a quite daring conversation with him. For Abraham, Sodom is not just any old city. He has relatives there. His nephew Lot and his family live there. And he guesses right that God is planning to destroy those two cities because of all the wicked things that are happening there. But Abraham dares to speak up for Sodom. He says, "Will you, God, kill the good people together with the bad? A just God couldn't do that. What if there were only 50 righteous people in Sodom? Would you spare the place?" And God says, yes, he would. Abraham then wonders what God would do if there were fewer than 50 people in Sodom, 45 perhaps? What would he do? Then he goes down to 30, 20. What would he do if only 10 righteous people were living in the city? And God says, for the sake of 10, I would not destroy it. I remember hearing this story as a child, and I still find Abraham quite brave, quite daring, haggling with God like that. My parents certainly wouldn't have had that of me. Does God sometimes have to make difficult decisions? Can't he just sort things out perfectly? Wise and powerful as he is? In this story, we see he is having to deal with a real dilemma. By destroying Sodom, he would kill innocent people as well. But just letting the rest of people get on with their evil behavior is no option for him either. Very often, we as humans have to choose between two bad options, and the same seems to be true for God to some extent, at least according to this story. But isn't God all-powerful and mighty? Can't he just change people and situations in an instant? He could. But the thing is, he chose to create us free. We are not remotely controlled by him. We're not puppets on strings, and freedom means that there's bad in the world along with the good. God still tries to influence us. He's talking to us. He sends messages our way. He speaks to us in the Bible, in preaching, in dreams, through angels and miracles, through his own Son who became a human being. But he will never force himself on us. So, the world is a messy place. It's rarely black and white, but grey most of the time. The good is mixed up with the bad. And that seems to put tricky decisions in front of God, just like us. I believe God listened to Abraham in this instance. Whilst his aides have left for Sodom, he stays around with Abraham and listens at what he has to say. And does it change God's plan? Sodom and Gomorrah are still being destroyed, but not before Abraham's relatives are safely evacuated from the city. Let us be encouraged to pray for the big issues with us and for the small, more personal ones as well. We will not always get what we want, but we can have our say. God listens. Very often we will never learn what difference our prayers have made, but I believe that the world would be a far more sad and terrible place without the faithful prayers of the many people who plead with God for it. So let us keep praying for Ukraine. Bye-bye. See you soon.